Happy Thursday night live, or should I say it in Italian? How do you say it in Italian? I should have asked you before we started.
Buon giovedì sera.
Say it again.
Giovedì,
Giovedì.
Thursday. Giovedì is Thursday. Friday is venerdì.
Okay. Buon giovedì sera. Buon
Perfect.
giovedì sera. We have Dr. Stefano Colasanto with us today. I cannot wait. One of my favorite places in the world is Italy. You guys know that. I have a special place in my heart for Italy. So, piacere di conoscerti is the only thing that I know how to say in Italian.
Okay. Great Italian pronunciation. Great.
Very good.
Absolutely.
All righty. So let me go ahead and start with our introduction. I know the Dr. Stefano, you're in Rome.
Yeah.
Correct. And you're doing some incredible work there, which you're going to share with us. I'm very excited about this. I've seen you speak before. Your cases are amazing. And here we go. And you're also speaking conferences. You're always all over the world. You're just mentioning that in August you're going to be in Bali. I think that's Bali.
Uh-huh.
All right, everybody. Introducing Dr. Stefano Colasanto.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead. Who graduated with honors in dentistry in Rome in 1989 with a thesis exploring the connection between posture and malocclusion. Back then, and he's already talking about this stuff. He later specialized in functional orthodontics and orthodontics. In 2000, he earned a diploma in osteopathy from CERDO, C-E-R-D-O. He combines orthodontics, myofunctional therapy, and osteopathy in his work, focusing on the relationship between TMJ disorders, swallowing, malocclusion, and posture. Dr. Colasanto is also co-author of the New Orthodontics and translator Richard Baxter's Tongue-Tied into Italian in 2024. Congratulations! I translated to Portuguese. He translated it to Italian. And it's so cool. It just took me like 3 or 4 years though. At his clinic in Rome, he's known for his multidisciplinary approach to oral health and postural balance. Today's topic is tongue-tie, the hidden connections. Welcome to the Airway Circle stage.
Oh, thank you, Renata. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here to share some time with you. I'd like to start to share my screen. Okay, let me check here. Perfect. Okay. Yay. Okay, here we are. Here we go. So, it is very important to understand, in my opinion, that we don't have to stop thinking about breastfeeding just as a newborn issue. And that is why in osteopathy, we have two great mottos, two great thinking. The first is life is motion. So we have to move in every single part of our body. So the more free structure, function a joint is, the better. And actually, the tongue tie is a handbrake for the whole body. That must be a key concept, I think, and it is quite difficult to make it understood to other people, to other dentists, to other pediatricians. I'm sorry. And I'm so happy that me and my staff will be at the Order of Medical Doctors next Saturday in Rome. The Order of Medical Doctors of Rome is the largest in Europe, just to talk about tongue tie. So, just to make you understand, it is not a matter if we can achieve a point, the lingual spot, but it is how we achieve that point. I mean, this guy wants to switch on the light, and he can do this just with one single muscle, deltoid muscle, the muscle of the shoulder, And it is a single movement. It is quite easy, and it is very easy to do it for million times per day. This is his brother, and the switch is the same height, the same switch, but this guy has wrist, elbow, shoulder locked. So to perform the same movement, he cannot use his arm, his shoulder, but he has to use his spine. So the goal and the achievement is the same. The effort is completely different. So this is a normal tongue. This is a tongue tie. So we don't have to see if it is possible for the tongue to reach the palate. It is very important to understand how we can reach that point. And it is important to understand that this point, this level, it is the basis of the floor, the mouth, must not be visible when we raise our tongue, because it is a fake movement, a movement that it is not performed really actually in the mouth because it is too expensive. This is a tongue tie, of course, and the limit to understand the movement, right movement of the tongue must be the crankle, the crankles level. The crankles is this point, it is the exit of salivary glands, and this horizontal plane must not be seen in when I ask a patient to raise his tongue. Again, here, again, here. That's why I know that in the USA is something weird, but I used to perform two releases, one here and one here. By the way, look at these lines here. All the frenulum is uh, pulling in these teeth here. So I measure the opening. The usual opening should be around 1 inch and a half, 14 millimeters, and with the tip of the tongue on the spot, the palatal spot. And here is whatever, 25 millimeters or more or less 1 inch. So I perform a release here and the release here. So it must be very, very subtle, very, very soft. I do not have to touch the muscle. It is just at a level of fascia. Fascia is a sort of film. We talk about fascia in a while. So it must be very, very not deep, very superficial. And why? Just because we know by this wonderful paper by Nikki Mills of the 2019 that actually Tantai is covered by fascia, and this part of muscles that it is not always present in Tantai, but sometimes is, in my opinion, must be not taken. And in orthopedics, they try to avoid to touch in surgery, in orthopedic surgery. They try to avoid it to touch muscles because it is more painful and the recovery after surgery is much longer. So I just open the fascia. It is just like a diving suit of three sizes smaller, and then I just cut the diving suit without touching the skin. That is what I do in newborns, no bleeding or very little bleeding, and it could be considered very too small, a very small release, but actually that is the result, a perfect diamond shape, and it must be considered as a successful surgery. And three things after: breastfeeding, stretching 5 times per day, 5 seconds, 5 times per day, and tummy time for at least 1 month, but normally 1 month is enough. So I inform the parents about all of this before surgery, and that is 1 month later. Perfect. Okay. The second concept, paramount concept in osteopathy, is that the body is a whole. And that's why I said that the tongue tie is a handbrake for the whole body. And what does it mean? It means that there is a connection between all structures of the body through muscles, vessels, nerves, joints. So let's see this lady swallowing. I asked her just to swallow and look at her head, but look at, please, also at her hand. And swallowing, 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 she is changing the plane of her head, and he is also asking here for help. She is recruiting also muscles of the hands because for her is such a difficult movement to do, but it is mandatory and it happens very often 2,000 times per day. And in all these movements, she's moving forward just to adapt the whole body to this function. So the body is a whole through fascia. And we should know this book by Thomas Myers. It is a fundamental book. It is a wonderful book. And Thomas Myers is a wonderful person. And he taught us that it is possible to have a single cut from tongue to lungs to diaphragms to psoas to pubic symphysis, down, down, down to the big toe, flexor hallucis longus, to the foot. So the whole body is connected to the tongue. And it is very important to understand because this is a fact. This is not an opinion. It is a fact. It is anatomy. And the fun fact is that it was the same also for the acupuncture. In acupuncture, there is the spleen meridian just from here to here, just the same. 5,000 years ago, they already knew this. And why is swallowing so important in posture? First of all, what is posture? Posture is the best compromise in this moment to counteract the force of gravity without pain. And it is very important because we must survive. So we must not have pain. And we have to consider not only our ordinary life, but we have also to consider our routines. What are routines? Routines are a sort of habits that we sometimes we are not aware to have in our daily life. How long are we in front of a computer? What is our posture in our bed? How long are we driving per day? How long are we with our mobile? What is our work, hobby, sport, and so on? So actually, our posture is a slave to our daily routines. So some years ago, I wondered to myself, are there any mandatory and stereotypical functions in nature? I mean, do we have any routines in our ordinary life, but natural routines, something that we cannot avoid to perform? And the answer was, of course, yes. We have three main activities, mandatory activities: breathing, chewing, swallowing. And who assembles all of them? Breathing, chewing, and swallowing? The tongue. So also from this point of view, we can understand the importance of the movement, the mobility of the tongue. Look at this patient. This patient was had his surgery in May, so very short tongue tie, and I use with all my patients to take pics just before a grid, so I have a point of referral. So that was him, and in May he was just as tall as the grid, minus 4 centimeters. I mean, 1 inch. After 2 months after release and after myofunctional therapy, because we can understand that release is just the first part of the whole therapy, and the whole therapy is made of release and myofunctional therapy. So after just 2 months, he was 4 centimeters or 1 inch taller than before. And of course, he didn't grow up just long, it was stretched. And all the structure, it is not recovered, it is not the final aspect, but it is the usual aspect after 2 months after surgery. And why it is so important swallowing? Just because we perform it from the end of the third month of the intrauterine life. So it is our life plus 6 months. And it is quite a complex movement because we have to raise our trachea and we have epiglottis going down. And so there is a stop of breathing just for a while to allow the bolus to go to the stomach through the esophagus. In all this movement, the neck must be stable, must be fixed. The neck is a sort of track, and this is a sort of railroad change. And this railroad change must work without any movement by the neck. So this is a real and actual swallowing, and look at the neck. The neck is stable. It does not move. It is a sort of pillar. But if the trachea cannot slide up, then I must swallow because I am obliged to. Then the head and neck will slide downwards. So if it is not possible to go up, all the rest must go down. And that is an incorrect swallowing pattern. So the neck is always moving, and 2000 times per day, we have this movement here, this compression here, and the neck is just like a fishing pole, always trying to balance the load forward. And this is what we do if we have an incorrect swallowing pattern. Look at this girl. It is not fake, of course, but we have to look at these movements. And at the end of the myofunctional therapy, we should not have this movement anymore. So swallowing is mandatory, and the body must adapt to permit swallowing. So, of course, all people with incorrect swallowing is going forward, and that's why we must check it out. Our point of reference is, of course, the lingual spot. Why it is so important? It is not just a point. It is the exit of the nasopalatine nerve. Nasopalatine nerve is a branch of trigeminal nerve. And trigeminal nerve is the thickest cranial nerve because it contains about 180,000 nerve fibers. And most important thing, it can have 50% of all sensory inputs from the body, and about 50% of all sensory inputs travel through the trigeminal system. So we are not stimulating a random point. We are switching on the master. We are switching on the light. And it is very, very important. That's why we can see these great movements, these great changes in 1 second. This is Tommy, 4 years. This is his usual posture. And I asked him, please tell me, put your tongue on the spot. Immediately his posture changes. So we are not acting just in the mouth. We are not acting just in the swallowing. We are acting on the whole body. And it is not just for children. It is also for others. Usual posture, tongue on spot, without any osteopathic maneuvers. And also on the platform, we can see difference because we have a different point of balance with the tongue on spot and teeth in contact. We can have 50-50. We can have a swinging area very short. We can have the axis that is in this way becoming straight here with tongue on spot immediately, and all the points of load on the feet change immediately, just putting the tongue on the spot. So What if we teach the body to put the tongue always in that point? That is the main goal, the automation of the myofunctional therapy. We must teach the body to keep the tongue there. And this is a wonderful image that explains all the different symptoms and that we can have starting from tongue issue. So it is a lot. There are a lot of different symptoms, and it is very important to have this pattern in mind. And what happens if we have a very difficult swallowing pattern? So it is something very hard for us, and we cannot do two things at the same time. So we have to lock one if you want to perform the other. So it is not possible for this child, this girl, to watch the PC, to work on computer and swallow. So lock a little the tongue here, and then I can go on my homework. The same here, and the same here. But it is not just for children, it is also for famous adults here or here. So the tongue thrust, tongue tie, tongue issues is something that can affect the whole lifetime. Occlusion. Look at this occlusion. This girl had a very narrow palate, so narrow that she had to extract 4 bicuspids when she was younger. And notwithstanding these 4 extractions, she is still with crooked teeth, not only, but look at the axis of the tongue here. But where the tongue is lower, we have also a narrower palate. Okay, so notwithstanding that she has a retainer here, but the palate is completely different because we have first to fix the tongue if there is any issues, of course, and then we can go on with orthodontics. And it is not something just for occlusion, because she's also leaning a little on right, just like her tongue. And of course, it is she has an advanced posture. What about this case? We can see perfectly a very low tongue and an open bite. This is the result after some months of myofunctional therapy without any orthodontic appliance. We cannot see the tongue here because the tongue is on the palate and teeth are closed. There is no open bite. What about this case? We have she was 16 years old at the time, so we have a problem, a midline issue here, some black holes here, and a tongue tie here. After release, after 9 months of myofunctional therapy, without any orthodontic appliance, we are here. So I, of course, gave her an orthodontic appliance, but just to fix this lateral incisor here and to some little other problems, but it was a very a very short orthodontics. And look at this boy. It was the only case in which it was not possible for me to have his tongue up because it was too short. And look at this, look at his posture here, the day of Tantai release. Look at his cervical spine. 2 months later, we can see his posture much better, and we are performing myofunctional therapy. And then here, in comparison, looking at the posture 4 months before, now he is a soldier, and he was completely compressed here, just in 4 months. What about him? He used to be a a soccer player, and with a lot of pain at knees because he was completely forward. You have to consider that we are supposed to have our ears on the same vertical line as our ankles here. And he was at 3 square forward. Every square is 1 inch, more or less, 1.5 inches. This is after release, and this is after myofunctional therapy. He was straightened up by the therapy and no knee pain at all. Stop. Just because his posture was not loading his knees anymore. That is the normal posture. This is a forward posture with thumb thrust. This is a forward posture and compressed too with thumb thrust and thumb tie. That is the possible explanation because of which we can have great improvements also in scoliosis, just because we are cutting this compression. And this is the result before and after temporary release and 8 months of myofunctional therapy, of course, in a growing patient. He's not adult. He was, I think, 13, a male of 14. And what about the gastroesophageal reflux disease? This was considered a normal swallowing, but actually it was not because she was the swallowing, and look at her in a real swallowing. That is her tongue. Cervical pain. Why we have cervical pain in patients with tongue? Because every time we have to compress our cervical spine, and always around C5. Here, 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 and so on. And what about eyes? We have a great connection between eyes and tongue. Look at this. It is not possible for this woman to converge her eyes to see the little ball, but with the tongue on spot, it was quite perfect. And with cotton rolls between arches, even better. Just because the movement, the muscles of the eyes are communicating to the brain via the trigeminal nerve. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this live, very short tongue. And this was the beginning. Look at her left eye here. And look at the same girl 5 seconds after with tongue on spot. Immediately. Crazy, isn't it? Okay. So when is it better to release tongue-tie? At 40 years, at 4 years, or at 4 days? The sooner, the better. It is not just a breastfeeding issue. And now, just a few minutes to the end, the future. What we are doing in Italy here is a study about pupillometry. We are studying the difference between the diameter of pupils in the dark in different, this is a pupil scan we use. That's me in my office. Okay, and it was a copyright by Dr. Vincenzo De Cicco of the University of Pisa in Tuscany. And why we use the pupillometer? Because pupil size is a widely used metric of brain state. What does it mean? It means that pupils are supposed to have the same size, but it is not so. Because in the dark, while in the daylight, it depends on the light, of course, but in the dark, with infrared cameras, it is possible to study, to see them, and to measure the diameter of pupils. And it is a function of two little nuclei, locus ceruleus. Locus ceruleus are the factory, the production of noradrenaline. Noradrenaline is the engine of the brain, and or in this paper, it was named the Viagra of central nervous system. So behind our eyes, we have two midbrains, and they must be symmetrical, but frequently they are not. And this is the basis of neurological issues, just like Alzheimer, Parkinson's disease, and so on. And so we can study the function, the symmetry of the two midbrains, just measuring the pupils. And the important thing is that if we have anisocoria, is imbalance of the brain, so it means that CNS is under stress, under siege. If we have isocoria, the CNS is okay. So we have just two things, two activities that can change the diameters of pupils. One is dental occlusion and one is swallowing. So again, swallowing is far more important than we could ever imagine. And so again, to this guy, after at the beginning, this number is the difference between right eye and right pupil and left pupil. So at the beginning, swallowing has a great difference of zero point 0.4. The maximum should be zero point 0.1. And it was in May after the release and after 2 months after the release and 2 months of my functional therapy, 1.01. This boy, look at his posture. I do not have to comment it. It's quite clear. Tongue-tie release after 2 months. Another guy. Okay, so it was 0.6 in May, 0.6 also in June, because he was very lazy and he didn't understand the importance of my functional therapy. So I explained very well this time. And after another month, it was 0.1. So it was an incredible improving of activity of his brain. So thank you. That's all for me. This is my QR code for my Instagram page if you want to uh, keep in contact with me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a wonderful presentation. Oh my goodness, those cases are amazing. And I love how much background you have in posture and how you're looking at these things and all the eyes. One of my biggest mentors, first one of them all, was Dr. Tom Colquitt. And he has this incredible lecture on YouTube on Airway Circle. If you guys have not seen it, I left it open for everybody. Because it just needs to be seen. And it's all about the eyes, how you can see what's happening with the patient just by looking at their eyes. And now you're looking even deeper. I totally want to do it to mine. I took a selfie this morning and I looked, I was like, oh my gosh, this eye was so cross-eyed. Like it was crazy. So I know I have that. Zoe has that where our eyes do not match up exactly. But how much of it is related to airway and tongue tie? And oh my gosh. Anyways. Incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Now I'm going to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
Dr. Colasanto, what first led you to explore the connection between tongue tie and whole body posture in your clinical practice?
Well, I'm very lucky because I have a lot of co-workers, collaborators in my office. So I have osteopaths, optometricians, speech therapists, and orthodontists, and so on. So I am in charge for the first visit in my office. So I have to, a sort of director, and then I send the patient to the most appropriate
Professional.
doctor, professional. So, but every single patient must be seen in a postural way. Yes, of course.
Very good. How can a restricted tongue affect facial growth and dental development in children?
How much time do I have?
Right. This is a whole lecture in itself.
No, I'm joking. A lot. In osteopathy, we think that actually after the delivery trauma, we think that actually the tongue is a sort of a secret agent moving from the inner side of the cranium, and that is why we know that why the tongue movement is expanding all the vault of palate, and we say that our face, our cranium, is a sort of building with different floors. The basement is the mouth, So if the palate is expanded, the palate is the ceiling of the basement, but it is also the floor of the nose. So all the nasal fossa. So a tongue that is that has a very good movement, very good activity, as also can produce a very good breathing with uh, less tonsillitis, adenoiditis, otitis,
Mm-hmm.
sinusitis. So all these kind of inflammations, and of course, as you saw in that girl with the tongue in this way, diagonal tongue, it was exactly the same with
Okay.
her cranium.
Isn't that interesting? Wow. Can you talk a little bit about TMJ disorders and how the tongue tie can affect the mobility of our joint? What have you seen in your practice with these patients that complain of TMD and after you do a tongue tie release?
Um, when I teach in my courses, I always ask these two movements to do. Um, Open and close your mouth freely in this way, tuck, 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 tuck. And afterwards, I ask the classroom how many of you have clicks, noises, TMJ noises. First, the second is do the same with the tongue on the spot. Open and close with the tongue on the spot. And generally, the number of clicks reduce a lot. The third thing, the third phase, final phase is now do the same with the tongue very low, kept very low, just behind the lower incisors. And every time we have an increased number of TMJ clicks, also in people that didn't have ever any noise and any TMJ noises. So just because the tongue is guiding, is leading TMJ in a movement, in a more rotational movement, or in more translating movement. So if there is tongue tie, I do not uh, make any biplane or any TMJ therapy.
Mm-hmm.
They firstly they have to fix the tongue tie issue, and then uh, mostly they do not have any TMJ issue anymore.
How were your first evaluations with these patients? I mean, it's incredible that you have the clinical eye with the osteopathy in there. One, I would like to see what are some extra things that you think you're looking at that we that have no knowledge really of osteopathy. What are some things that you're seeing that we may be missing?
Well, of course, I'm studying this field. I have been studying this field for 30, 36 years. So I can put together a lot of things, a lot of different symptoms. But the main test that you can perform with your patients is what happens to whatever with with normal tongue position, and with tip of the tongue on the spot,
Okay.
touching the spot. And then you will see a lot of differences in every field.
Wow. Um, you mentioned also doing the release and then referring to myofunctional therapy. How do you usually work? Patients come to you. How soon do you do the release? What is the process like with the different professionals that they have to see? And I understand that Some people are going to need some professionals, some are going to need others. But what is usually the way that you practice?
Well, my office sometimes is just like a crossroad of different clinics around Italy, and usually I try to perform the dental release by myself because it is very important to perform in a correct way. And then I'm trying to create a team of speech therapists specialized in myofunctional therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, it is very important that the myofunctional therapy should last at least 6 months.
I
So
love
it
that.
is not a matter of how many meetings, how many times, but I am concerned with the result. So
Mm-hmm.
if it takes 6 months, okay, but it is not a matter to touch the spot to be free, but it is, as I said before, it must be made automatically. So it is something that we we shouldn't think about it. So it is very important for me to have all professionals on the same page, of course, on the same level, on the same level also of knowledge and comprehension.
Incredible. Well, you have built an amazing team,
Yeah.
and it really shows how important interdisciplinary collaboration, not multi, but
Yes.
interdisciplinary collaboration is when treating our patients.
Yeah.
Most of us live on an island where we're the only ones around where we are, and being able to find those professionals who are not only willing to work together, but actually willing to communicate or willing to teach and share and collaborate, right? Connect, share, collaborate on every circle that we always talk about. So, congratulations. Uh, you're
Thank
doing
you. Thank
amazing
you,
work.
Renata.
And can you share one more time how can people get in touch with you?
Whatever. Whenever you want, I'm here.
Is the Instagram the easiest?
Yeah, whatever. Whenever you want, we can organize something else. And on my page, on a Instagram page, I
Yes.
share a lot of images, videos,
What
and
is your handle
educational.
again? Is it your name? Your handle is Dr. Stefano Colasanto on Instagram.
Yes, yes, I put on.
I know on the last slide you had it. I just
Yeah,
want to
the last slide.
the QR code in there. So look him up
Yes.
on Instagram. Everybody start following him.
Let me share again. Where are you? Oh, okay. Where was it? Po. Here it is.
There it is.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, we got
Okay.
all of your info right there. There you go, guys. Thank you so much, Dr.
Okay.
Stefano, for hanging out with us. Hopefully, I'll see you in Rome soon. I can't
I'll be
wait to go
your
back to
guide. I'll
Italy.
be your guide, Renata. Okay.
Don't ask me twice. I'm gonna have to plan it. I'm coming to Europe a couple times this year, but Italy's still not on the schedule. But if you know me well, you guys know I'm gonna make a way to stop by Italy
Okay.
before I come home.
Bye bye.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful
Okay.
day. We love
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.